Hi, Eric. Good morning.
Hey Rob, how's it going?
Good. How are you doing?
Pretty good. I think I might have seen a different Zoom URL on a different invitation.
Um, so there was the URL that Chip had that we spent some time updating last week. So yes, there should be a different URL, but there should only be one different URL.
Oh, I think I saw it on maybe a different Google Calendar invite that I got last week too. And this is the one that's on the community calendar.
Yeah, it should be the same link, but there's one invite that I think will get sent to your calendar. So it's so when we created it, Chip had me add all the TOC members individually and the community calendar. So there's probably something on your calendar, but it should have the same link.
Yeah, I'm just checking things because I have something on my calendar that has a different link that starts with a 9-4.
Okay.
Anyway, regardless, it did change from last week. So if people are on a stale link, it might take a second to join. I'm expecting Jan is at least going to join. I think
Should I
Stefan
post
and Lee
the
are. Oh, I've got it.
link
I've got
on?
it handy.
Okay.
Oh no, we lost Stevenson. We're getting farther away from quorum. Oh, I just had a message from Jan that he's on sick leave and can't join.
Okay.
Well, I think we can't make any decisions in the meeting then, but we can still discuss ongoing topics. So I think we can go ahead and get started.
Sounds good. I'm just going to be video off for a few minutes because I've got a chore to do.
Sure. So in terms of agenda topics, we've got the running one on updates for the charters that are in flight. And then Rama, I think you suggested a topic about, there's a question in the general channel about Stratos and its future and where that should get discussed. And then the usual any other business topic.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of updates on charters, I can report on progress for the app runtime platform charter. I've continued to be working with Angela to just confirm the list of candidate approvers and the different areas there. I think that's pretty much ready to go. at least in terms of turning into a non-draft PR that we then want to have discussion of until we resolve comments and any other adjustments on it. So like that one is pretty much ready to go. So if I have time later today, I can even turn that into a active PR for consideration.
Ruben and I met about the foundational infrastructure PR and tagged some folks from VMware who would be really good, likely approvers there because they're really actively working day to day on some of those products. We think we have pretty good coverage for approvers for the properties in that working group, but we would love, like, we didn't want to go as far as tagging likely SAP approvers for things like UAA without talking to somebody like, you know, Stefan Jan or Felix. So we're not getting a lot of responses on that PR from anybody else. So if there's other community members that would like to put themselves forward as approvers who are working in that area, that would be fantastic.
Great. I know we're likely still waiting on a couple folks to come back from vacation at SAP. So maybe give that another week and make sure that we have active confirmation of who'd be good from them, and maybe do another round of solicitation in the community for other approvers.
So
and then I think the last one, we actually have the Pacato PR in active form for consideration. I know there's, we had a little bit of discussion last time about the even just terminology difference between some of the rules within the Pacato community documents and the ones that are stated within the CFF governance documents in the CF community repo. So it seems like discussion on that PR probably needs a bit of a kick, but then we'll still need to resolve that. I took a glance over the existing rules in the Pacato community, and they seemed roughly analogous to the ones that we had stated for the community. I mean, they have a contributor and then a maintainer role, and then their steering group leads. But those seem like the maintainers are basically the approvers, and the steering group are the working group leads. So that's probably still the right venue to, you know, if Ryan and Emily and the other folks in the Pacato community aren't here to discuss synchronously, that's the next best venue to work out some of those details. So I suggest we continue to advance discussion on that PR. And then I think for the app runtime interfaces working group, we're still assessing good candidates for leads and discussing that amongst the folks who have been longtime contributors there. So hopefully we can get that worked out in the next wave. Okay, I think that's it for the working group charters. And then Ram, maybe we can move on to that next topic about that question in the general channel. Were there other things that you wanted to bring up about it?
No, so just in terms of setting some context, there have been like a few questions about Stratos here and there, and I think that's also just an example of how do we generally respond in case projects are undergoing like a bit of flux, especially at this time where we are sort of pulling together a lot of the details about, you know, who's responsible for what and things like that. So if there's a way to advise, I guess, on the best way to respond to queries like these, I'd be really happy to have that information.
Yeah, so are you talking about just, I know Peter had asked, like, what's the best place to discuss this? Is that the kind of question, like, what venue to bring this to, or more directly, like, what is the future of this project? Or
yeah, not in terms of specifically the future roadmap and things like that, but also in general, what is the best way to navigate the waters at a time of particular ambiguity like this, I guess.
Yeah, sure. So I think it should be pretty clear about any particular project, whether it's a community project or whether it's an official Cloud Foundry project. So just even on the basis of which GitHub organization it lies in. So since Stratos is, I don't remember if it's in the main Cloud Foundry org or if it's still an incubator, but regardless, if it's in one of those, then it's within the official governance of the CFF at that point. So in that case, that would put it under the governance of the TOC and the rest of the technical community. And in that case, then the TOC would be, and the associated working groups would be the one to steer its roadmap and direction. And then conversely, if it's something that's in Cloud Foundry community or in one of those other repos that is adjacent to, but not technically within the governance structure, then that seems like more of a venue for discussion at, say, the community call, or even with the whatever organization had contributed to that broader community setting. So I think for any particular project, this is where we've been trying to, like, we know what existing projects were under the PMC structure, and we've been trying to repartition those amongst working groups. Again, with being open to if there needs to be some sort of subdivision within what we considered as a project before, where it's maybe split or shared between working groups, we're certainly open to that. But by default, we found it easiest just to kind of redivide those existing projects under the different working groups. And so with that in mind, and with the working group structure that we had initially proposed, we put Stratos under that app runtime interfaces group in amongst the other clients that are generally interacting with the Cloud Foundry app runtime core APIs. So I think ultimately it'll fall under that working group's governance for Stratos in particular, but then we'll likely have to make a decision about whether there is any active community support behind it, whether to put it into some sort of either if nobody emerges. I hope so. I hope someone does, because it is a nice client that's had a lot of effort invested into it. I think it's a valuable asset for the community. Yeah. Anyway, so does that help in terms of even just what venue to bring a particular discussion to when questions like this come up?
Absolutely, Eric. Thank you so much.
Great. All right. Are there any other topics we want to discuss?
I know that Jenna, Eric, had that question that she addressed to us about like CI spend and merging community infrastructure and such. I'm very excited about that topic as soon as we can get through some of these early phase logistics.
Yeah, then we can start allocating resources. It's where the fun begins.
At a technical oversight level.
Yeah. All right. Well, it doesn't sound like we've got any other topics to discuss, so I think we can close things out. Thanks very much for attending, everyone, and hope to see you next week.
Thanks for driving, Eric.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.